Hey, good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Another beautiful Friday morning to come and share with you. Today, I'm going to talk about being on a movie set, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. We're going to talk about that today, and we got Halloween coming up. So, Halloween is an exciting time for some, like myself. And it's not an exciting time for others. So I'm going to do what I usually do, and I'm going to see if I'm on the right group here. That is going to be my first thing. If you guys are in here with me, let me know. I know I jumped on here a little bit later. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. So I'll tell you about our long day and then trying to pull yourself together this morning. What is this? Maybe later, thank you. Oh, I gotta get to my comments. Who's on here? Morning, Mom. And Louise is in here too. Good morning, Louise. That's an interesting way to say good morning. I know it's spell check. Let me make sure I'm on the right group here. And I'll be right with you. This is my morning. Actually, I've been enjoying some reishi mushroom tea, but also I always have my pu'er green tea with MCT oil. So am I in the right group? Morning, Carol. And Brenda's in here too. And Suzanne. Wow, we got a nice group. Is it because of the movie thing? Is that what you guys are interested in? You don't want to hear my health tips. You just want to hear about the movie. I'm just kidding. Where am I on the right page? Okay. Oh, there I am. Okay. Good morning. Deleted it. 1 second. I would like to try to go live on my Telegram page. If you guys are on Telegram, that's a new platform that I've been jumping on there. Good morning, Annette. I'm going to see what this looks like. I have no idea how to do that. Oh, live stream. Live stream. It's happening. You know when you're like trying to learn a new platform? It is the worst. Oh, there was no video. I think I'm on video now. Okay. I don't know if that's going to work. Tap to mute. What can I tell you guys? Oh, I was just saying that I drink my morning. Do you guys drink tea? So we got a lot of our Fit Fam in here. Thank you guys for joining. Fit Fam did awesome. So what happened was they tell you at the very last minute, and I don't know if that's because they're so busy or because of privacy reasons, or I'm not exactly sure why everything's last minute, but and we actually applied to go to the one they're doing filming in Didsbury. So we're like, it's right over there. It's a no-brainer. Let's see if I can get on. So they actually they said, what did the first message was, hey, all they said was they're looking for extras, send in pictures. So you send in pictures, which is a bit odd because I feel like they're just looking for bodies. Like, I don't think it matters what you look like. Although it would be flattering to believe or think that you got on because you're good looking. But I think that's a stretch. Let's see, but I definitely think that's a stretch. I think they're just looking for bodies. So it would take someone in like a unique, and they need a ton of people, but it would take a unique individual that could do that. So you need someone that has a flexible job or doesn't have a job. Someone that doesn't have kids or can bring their kids with them. And you need someone close enough. What else do you need? And then you need someone that can sit there all day and do nothing. So, it sounds like, it almost sounds prestigious, but it's not. And I'm only saying that because, and I don't mean like it's really cool and it's unique and it's different and interesting, but I think that all they need is bodies and people to stand around, to be 100% honest with you. That's just my perspective. I could be wrong. I don't want to downplay it. It was definitely a cool experience, but let me carry on. Hey, Jen. Jen's over here on Telegram with me. I'm actually on Facebook. I'm streaming live on Facebook. We go live every Friday morning. good morning, movie star. And it says, not quite, but let me say. So they did ask me, they said, will you shave your mohawk? And I was like, do I have to? And then they said yes. It was filmed in the 80s, like 80s theme, so it wasn't too many people with mohawks. They don't let you wear any jewelry, so no jewelry of any kind, for obvious reasons. And then glasses, like people had to take their glasses off. It was really cool. Like I'm a detail person. Like every single detail matters to me. Like I don't just say this to say it. I honestly feel that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when someone like shakes their hand, and I know it's kind of crazy now, but even if they don't shake your hand, like if I go and shake someone's hand and they don't want to, you can tell a lot about that from an individual. If someone has a firm grip, you can, like, I pay attention to every single detail, what people are looking at. So that's what was most interesting to me, is being on set, and I'm watching the actors, I'm watching the extras, I'm watching the film crew. Like it was really cool for me to see the behind the scenes and paying attention to every single detail, and that's what they do, which was really cool for me. And it sounds funny because earlier, like I played professional sports, and everyone wants to be in the limelight. Everyone wants to be the one, right? They want to be the star. But for me, like the behind the scenes was way more interesting. So let me tell you the process first before I get into the actual day. So the driving was the biggest obstacle for us, because we were hoping to go to Didsbury because they did filming throughout the week there. And this was for Calgary, so you had to go in and they have all their extra protocols, which is quite ridiculous if you ask me. And I think if you ask anyone, even the people that were there, but you had to go and get, every time you go on set, you had to be tested. And then we had to go in a different day, so that was twice. And then we had to go in a different day to get costume fitting. And then the filming was actually yesterday, which is Thursday. And then they don't give you the details till the night before. And like I said, I don't know if that's for privacy purposes or what was going on there, but they didn't tell us. So they send out a bunch of emails always last minute, and then we go to sleep early. Like we go to sleep early, we wake up early. So we were asleep, and then we wake, and they hadn't messaged us, and we wake up at 4 a.m. and they're like, you have to be there at 6. Like I don't know what they call it. They have all these fancy words that, they have all these fancy. Louise says wimpy handshakes are awful. It does matter. And the same thing with hugs. Like I think you can tell a lot of people about. I feel like you can tell how, and I don't know, maybe that's a bit extreme, but how if someone if someone's gonna hug you. Of course, it might be different now, but still, if someone's gonna hug you or not, you can tell a lot about that person. If you can tell like how they embrace you, and if it's a warm hug or if it's like an awkward like squeeze and then they move on, like. You can tell a lot. If you pay attention, you can tell a lot about people by simple things that they do. Even how they stand and walk and talk. Like you can tell a lot. But I feel like it's the same thing with conversations. Like we have conversations with people, and it's always, maybe I'm different because innately I would like to ask questions, and then hosting a radio show for 10 plus years, asking questions. People often, it's one of my favorite compliments is people often say, you're a really good host, you're a really good listener, but I want to know, like I'm just naturally curious, but you sit across from someone sometimes and they don't ask one question about you. And I just think that's so odd, because sometimes I'm working with someone, sometimes we're like figuring out if we're going to do business together, and that person knows nothing about me, and I'm like, they don't ask a question, and I'm quite certain they don't do research. Like before I do any business, before I work with anyone, I do research about them. I look them up on different social medias. I see what they post, what they talk about. And some people, obviously, I'm like, whoa, I'm sorry. I don't want anything to do with you. But you have to align, you have to work with people that you align with. Same thing with our customers. Like our customers, we work very closely with them. We talk with them almost daily. We follow up with them. We answer questions. And if our customers are not our people and they're like, rude or complaining or not appreciative, I'm like, I'm sure there's plenty of other companies that would appreciate your support. I don't know if I said everyone was in here. I think I did. I can't really tell on Telegram. It just shows that Jen's in here, I think. But I did say, I did mention we had a bunch of people in. And anyway, at any rate, if you guys have questions as I'm going through, let me know. I just want to share it with you because from the outside it looks really cool, and it was like it was a really nice experience. I keep thinking, hey Nikki, I keep thinking like, is that something that I would do again? And let me get into that. But so what I said is it's 4 a.m. and they're like, hey, you guys gotta come. You gotta come in. You gotta be there at 6. And we're like, 6, because it's an hour drive and it's 4 o'clock, and then you have less than an hour to get ready, and you jump in the car and go. And then of course we had our Fit Fam, and that was a Thursday. That's why I talk about we have our supportive people in our Fit Fam. Like these are our customers, they're our people. And if you have a handful of people that aren't understanding and aren't grateful for all the work that you do, and then they don't like understand that things come up in life, then you have conflict. Like I felt bad for sure, but I also felt confident that our people could handle a workout on their own, and probably wouldn't be too upset that we canceled. We've never canceled, to be honest with you. I think that was the first time that we've changed workouts before, but canceling at the last minute or not showing up, that is not. I think is Brenda, are you still in here? Brenda, I used to do personal training with Brenda, and she was the first and maybe the only person. I did personal training for like at least 5 years full time. I think I did it for a year. Oh, sorry, Telegram. I did a personal training for a year, and then I traveled Australia, US, Germany. I came back and I did personal training again. But I think I could count on one hand, but I think Brenda's the only one who actually completely forgot about not showing up, or just like didn't show up. But I think that's important. It's important for everything in life. Like if you're not going to show up, if you're always late, if you're unreliable, being an unreliable person is such a hard thing for me to. I feel like that's everything. I really do. It's everything. If you can't rely on someone to do what they say they're going to do, like, those people, like we all have those people in our lives that say one thing and do another, or they say something and you can never rely on them. Like they are probably not going to show up if they say they're going to show up, or they're probably not going to do something. Like I don't want those people in my life. I really don't. Like it's so hard to rely on those people. So for us, and then for me, like as a trainer, I always expected my client to be there. Like you have to be here to work out if you want. My goal was to help them see results. And if they were like canceling and not showing up, then I didn't want to work with them because they weren't serious about getting results themselves. And I was. And you have to have a common ground there of two people wanting to come together for a common goal. And I just think it's such a difficult position to be in if you have a lot of people in your life that doesn't show up or says one thing, does another. I don't have much patience for that. So that's why I said when I was doing my training to show up, I can't even remember more than a couple times. I can only remember one time, to be honest with you, that I just didn't show up. I just completely forgot. I mean, it happens in life, but still. I feel like that's what happens with the radio show. Like sometimes when people cancel, they'll cancel last minute. If they cancel last minute, I know I've been doing it for over 10 years. This is every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, and we batch them. But I know if someone cancels on me last minute, they're going to cancel on me again. So I don't. Like if they cancel on last minute, 9 times out of 10, I don't rebook them. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of it. And like when I get all set, I got my lights, I got everything set up, I got my recording system, and then I count on that for we send out the shows in blocks to radio stations, and I count on that show for being one of the blocks, and then that takes someone else's spot because I really only like to do 1 or 2 interviews a week. Other than that, it's a bit much, unless I'm trying to batch because I know like end of December, January, I'm not going to want to record because I want to relax and spend time with family. Good morning, Keisha. I just checked my Suzanne says, I just checked my Telegram and you are not live. I am live, actually. Jen's in here watching me, I think. It says she is. but I can't really tell because I don't know how to use it yet. This is my first live on Telegram. It says there's 2 participants. I can't really see who they are. So at any rate, thanks for letting me know, Suzanne. I'm going to keep working on that. We're going to be on different platforms for obvious reasons. I don't believe you should have all your eggs in one basket. Most of you know I got removed from Facebook for a few days. I have no idea why. I'm guessing is because I said something that they didn't like. But we're going to grow on other platforms. That's how it's always been. We have thousands of videos on YouTube. We also backed up and have all our videos going up on Odyssey now. I know a lot of people don't know Odyssey, but Rumble is a really nice platform that doesn't have the censorship that these bigger companies do. So you can say more things. I believe in freedom of speech, obviously, or I wouldn't be here sharing my opinion with you guys. I feel like everyone should be able to share their own opinion. And we're on, I don't use LinkedIn very much or Twitter, unfortunately. But I don't know very many people that use those platforms regardless. We're on Instagram as well. And we're on TikTok too. So we're all over. So, I mean, we have our newsletters. If you guys aren't on our newsletters, we'd appreciate you being on there because that was the #1 way that we could communicate with our audience when I was shut down. We sent out extra newsletters, kept everyone updated. And then also my radio show and podcast, you can subscribe to that as well. So you get updates every time I come out with a new show. Louise says it was the first time that I recall that you cancel last minute. Life happens sometimes. That's right, Louise. And Louise has been with us. I don't know how long we've had our Fit Fam for 5-6 years now. So thank you for the support, Louise. And thank you for backing up my comments there. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do something. And we do our best. We're not always there on time, like exactly, but we do our best to do that. It's really difficult when you have, it's not really an excuse, but when you have 400 things going on and you're just trying to hold yourself together most days. But I think that's important to have those supportive people in your life. Good morning, Keisha. I'm not sure if I said good morning to you. Okay, so let me get back to it. So we show up. So we told our Fit Fam, hey guys, you gotta do your own workout this morning. Thank you for your understanding. Jump in the car, show up to, there was a zoo parking lot in Calgary. And it was all dark, and they had all these trailers everywhere, and there wasn't a whole lot of signage, which was a bit disappointing. So we didn't really know where to go. And then from there, it wasn't clear where to go or what to do. So there's a guy standing by a tent, and he says, "Hey, go put your clothes in there." No one said anything about signing in. Go put your clothes over there, and then come into the tent. And we already had our costumes. We already tried them on before, so they're sitting there waiting. That was a smooth process. So you go into another tent, and it was a bit cold. It was 6 a.m. and it was cool. It was very cool. Like not cool like sunglasses. Cool. It was freezing out. So you go into a lineup, and then you gotta wait to get into your costume, and then they had all the big those easy takedown tents, like the white tents. They kind of look like circus tents. And they had tables and people sitting there. So you go get your clothes. You go into one of this, just a makeshift black curtain area. There's a bunch of them. So you go in there and you change. And then you got to put all your clothes in your bag. And then you go out. And then from there, I went and put my clothes back in the room. There's tables and rooms, you're sitting there. And then you have to go to makeup, which is hair and makeup is what they called it. And there was nothing for me to do. Obviously, they asked me to shave my head, and I did. And then they filled in my earring. It's still in there. They put silicone in there, I guess, and then they put powder, and they powdered my forehead. And they were like, I was done inside of 5 minutes. And there were some people sitting there for 20 minutes, I'd imagine. They were trying to get them in and out as quick as possible. But there was a lot of people. My gosh, these were extras. We were extras. There was hundreds. There had to have been. It was crazy how big the production is. You know what's funny is that in LA we see productions all the time, which makes sense. Where it's it's a popular area to visit. It's beautiful. Beaches and water and palm trees. It's an incredible area if you haven't visited the South Bay area in Los Angeles. It's it's completely different than Orange County, LAX. A lot of people go downtown in the convention center. Like, this is paradise. If you've seen any of our pictures on social media, you know what I mean. So there's lots of filming there. You could see a filming once a week, like especially in the summer. You could see different film crews. We saw, they did Dexter there. I don't know if, does anyone know Dexter? We actually really enjoyed that Netflix series. They did Supergirl. What else? They did the Muppets. And then they did some Animal Channel stuff. This is just from sitting there and asking, like, hey, what's going on? But a lot of times they won't tell you. Or you don't get a chance to talk to anyone. Like, I'll ask the security guards because no one from the crew is going to talk to you. But it was funny because Keisha says, yes, I'm a Dexter fan. It was so funny. Like, that show, I don't know if you guys checked that out, but it was so funny. Like, this sounds a bit deranged, but he's a serial killer. Like, he's a serial killer. But he's a good guy. So that's why it's such a odd twist, is that you're kind of rooting for this serial killer because he's only killing the bad people. But it was a really good series. And at any rate, they did some filming right where we're at in Los Angeles, which was cool. We actually recognized some set on. We were watching the show, and I was like, "Hey, that looks very familiar." And then we did some research, and they said some of the scenes were filmed in Redondo Beach, like right on the pier, like we were across the street from it. So that was pretty cool. But we just thought it was so funny that I grew up in Calgary. There wasn't much filming. From what here's what I understand. This is hearsay. I don't know. I don't have any specifics, but they set, like, the tax in California is ridiculous. A lot of people are moving out, not just for political reasons, but for taxes and costs alone. But I think they increased the cost of filming, or taxes in filming in Hollywood. So a lot of the film companies, they can't afford it or had to get out and find somewhere else, which is why they went to Vancouver. And now I think they're going from Vancouver to Alberta. And we did have some filming here around the area before. But I think it's more, and from just the conversations I had yesterday, it's going to be more abundant. They're actually offering, though we had to fill out some forms, and it said, like, do you pay Alberta taxes? Do you plan on paying Alberta taxes in the future? And they said that if your cast is 70%, and again, this is just hearsay. I'm not giving you facts here. This is just what someone told me. But this guy told me, he said his brother-in-law was a casting agent. I forget what they call him. Casting director. He was a casting director for a different production. And he was there last week, and this week he was here. And he said that if it's 70%, 75% from Alberta, they'll reduce your costs even more because they're trying to encourage Alberta jobs, I think. I don't know. Wish I could see comments. Is there any way to see comments on Telegram? Maybe afterwards. Maybe I'll figure that out another time. So I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, so the filming companies were leaving Hollywood, California, and they're coming to Vancouver, and I think it's just kind of trickling over to Alberta because of our scenery and mountains and such, and which is nice. So there's going to be more filming here, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Dave says, welcome to the acting club. So actually, Dave told me that we watched Breaking Bad, and that was a fan favorite. We loved that one too. And I think it was Dave you told me to watch that one, and I was like, eh. And I didn't watch it. We didn't watch it. Dorothy and I watched it together. I didn't watch it really because I didn't think she would watch it, but she really enjoyed it. And then they had the prequel, so kind of part 2 before Breaking Bad, and it's called Better Call Saul. And Dave is in Albuquerque, and they film. Isn't it based in Albuquerque, New Mexico? And Dave was actually extra there too. So I'll get into my experience there, the actual day, in a second here. But Suzanne says, I got to see the first season. They put it on cable, and I didn't have cable. I got to see the first season. Oh, then they put it on cable? Oh, well, we watched it on Netflix, so I don't know. I don't have cable. We haven't had cable for years. And then Anna says, this is so cool to be part of the show you grew up with and liked. What show was that? Oh, Dexter. No, we didn't grow up with Dexter. Dexter was, I think you're talking about Dexter. Dexter was just I don't know, it was actually quite long, maybe 7 seasons. and they only started a couple years ago. Awesome, Carol. Carol says, having the apple cinnamon smoothie this morning. Oh, very nice. That apple cinnamon is fantastic. I love the apple. It's delicious. I love that combination. It's so good. I posted that smoothie recipe on the CTP group this morning. So, Dave, tell me if you had to go through the same process. So it was quite the process. Like, we had to go and get fitted one day. We had to get tested a couple times. It was quite intense. Like, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if we were right in Calgary and you drive 10 minutes to the site or 20 minutes, but here we're like at least 45 minutes away. So, and we often commented like, is it worth it to do this? And then we said, we're going to do it this one time, see how it goes, and we'll move on from there. What I was saying is that I thought it was interesting that there's so much filming going on in LA, and don't really have any part of it. And then in Calgary, where I grew up, now there's more filming, so we had to come back away from LA, and now everyone thinks that if you're in LA, you see stars everywhere, which isn't true. But you had to get away from LA to come back to Calgary to be in part of filming. So Dave says, yeah, there's a lot to do before, and then I sat for 10 hours for a 5-minute scene, and that's what we did too. So let me get a little bit further here. So we're sitting there. So you go and you get your costume fitted, and then I don't know how to tie a tie. So she comes and ties my ties, and she put my cufflinks in, and they're fixing you up. You know, it's really interesting. I don't know how they get I don't want to put anyone down, but people in the act, I don't know if it's the acting scene. I don't know if it was, this is my first experience. You have to do things a few times before you can feel the energy in the people. But the extras were weird. Like, they almost seemed like introverts that wanted to be in the limelight. It was very odd dynamic. But anyways, there's this one guy there, and I've seen him throughout the day because he was so weird. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. But he was like he walked like a robot. He's very awkward, and he just stand and stare. And then, like, oh my God, he was just very odd individual. And then of course, they're busy and rushing around, and then they take a picture of everyone, and that picture goes to someone else that approves it for you to be in the set. And it's all happening so quick, and everyone's being rushed and moved out. And then he's like, can you email me a picture? And the lady's like, no. And then he doesn't say anything. He just turns around and walks away. And then they still need to take a picture of him. They weren't done with his costume. So I don't know if he was upset. He had no emotion. It was very odd. It was very odd. But anyways, so they're rushing you up. But they rush you through different, like, step by step, but then you're sitting there waiting. So they're rushing you through makeup and costume, and then you go back in your tent and you sit there, and that's when you wait. So we had to wait an extra hour. So after you get all your makeup and hair done, you're sitting there and then they're like calling my name. They're like, Drew. There's like, Tadia, where's Tadia? And I'm like, I'm over here. And they're like, well, you didn't sign in. And if you don't sign in, then they gotta tell someone else, hey, this extra didn't show up. Maybe you need another extra. But when we got there, we were one of the first people there, so no one said anything about signing, and they just sent us straight to costume after we put our stuff down. And so they're like, well, you didn't sign in. And I was like, well, no one told me to sign in. So at any rate, you have to sign in, and you're supposed to. Then they told us you have to sign out. The first thing you do is you sign in, then you sign out. So at the end of the day, we go to sign out, and they're like, oh, you don't have to sign out. We already got you signed out. See you later. So that was funny. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and they served us breakfast, which was nice. And what was really nice is they had a vegan option, but it had eggs in it. But it was okay. Like, there's eggs and potatoes and carrots, and it was fine. Like, it tasted fine. It wasn't like cafeteria prison food. It was actually pretty good. But I thought it was nice that they had an option that didn't have bacon or sausage, because we wouldn't have ate it the whole meal, or we wouldn't have ate the sausage, and then that'd just be wasted. So it was nice they had an option that had some vegetables in it. So we sitting there for an hour in the tent, and it's freezing out, and the heater our heater stops working in the tent. And it's cold. Like, it's cold, I'm telling you. I think it might have been colder in the tent than outside the tent. People are sitting there freezing. But then you have the regulars who knew what was going on. So they got blankets on their legs and around. And we're sitting there like, man, why didn't someone tell us to bring some blankets? So we're freezing. And then I walked into another tent, and it's all toasty in there. I was like, oh, man, why couldn't we get a nice... So it would have been a much better experience if we had some heat flowing through there. But these things happen. I'm not saying like I'm not complaining or saying like it was there. It was like a big problem. It was fine. It was uncomfortable, of course, but like my mindset was like, I'm in here all day. People are going to be telling me what to do, which I don't like very often. Obviously, as a business owner, in most cases you can't handle being an employee. So I knew it was going to be an uncomfortable situation. So I said to myself, I'm going to do this one time. I'll see how it goes. And I was prepared. I suppose what I was saying is that I was prepared to be uncomfortable. Anyways, we were sitting there for another hour. They shuffle us onto a bus, big old cheese wagon. That's what we used to call them in school. Pulls up, and they pile us on. There was heat on that bus, which was fantastic. And then they take you to, then they pull. This is those of you that in the Calgary area or in the Olds area, wherever you are. This was in Inglewood, so we're in the close to downtown. So it was very close. They bust us from the zoo to the Inglewood area, which is very close. And then we pile off, and there's more tents. So we got to go. We got to go sit in these tents. It's actually a really nice park. They put up all these tents in a nice park. You sit there, and then some of the things I know like the whole politics things is difficult for a lot of people, and everyone has different opinions, but so many things, I'm not going to dwell on it, but so many things that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like they like cram you on these buses, right? And you're this far from someone back of someone's head, and then you're squished over here and the next person over there. And then they get you into these tents, and they put these dividers up. They put these like big like one table, and they put dividers up so you can't see the person across from you. You can't see the person next to you. And it just seems so ridiculous. Like it was extra cost. It was extra, and then you don't get a chance to talk with your neighbor, or it was a bit ridiculous. Like you're crammed in there, and then they go and they have to do this protocol that is ridiculous. But it's less personal. You have less conversations. It makes it less enjoyable, I suppose what I'm saying. And there was a lot of that throughout the day, which I won't get into, but it seemed like wasted time, wasted emotion, wasted resources. Good morning, Sue. And Anna says, Carol, did you use apple cinnamon mag in it too? That would have been a great addition. Okay, so then we're basically sitting there, like you're sitting there in the tents and you're waiting to be called. That's it. So a lot of people had books. Not a lot of people. A few people had books. Most people on their phone. And you're sitting there all day, and we were fortunate. So they called us out there. Maybe it was an hour. Maybe we sat there for another hour. Yeah. Dave says there's so much support staff. It was crazy. Seems like a waste. It was crazy. They had, I don't even know, they must have had a dozen people walking around with makeup. Morning, Leanne. They must have had a dozen people walking around doing makeup and hair. And so they had these people that had like huge pouches. Think of like a little fanny pack. They were huge, and they had like tweezers and scissors and makeup and sponges and colors. And there was all like the staff. My gosh, I can't even begin to fathom how much that production would cost. And the thing is, most people don't even know the name of it. I guess, it's not even released yet. And I don't they had to rent out this big church, of course. They must have rented it. They had to close off streets. It was cool. I thought, I like the back end, like I was saying. They have these huge lights, like big, giant lights pointing into the windows. I thought that was really cool because obviously they need to alter the shadows and the lighting. But I thought it was really cool that you don't see that kind of stuff. Is it The Last of Us? No, but some people were doing The Last of Us. I don't even think I'm supposed to mention the name, but I don't care. You can look at some companies that are really aggressive, and Disney's one of them. You know what I heard is like those companies of Monopoly. Like Monopoly is really aggressive. I heard they have some really um, strong lawyers that if you produce anything Monopoly and try to resell it, they will tell you, hey. And then there's, I don't know if it's a rumor going around, but someone posted. So you're like some Dave. What was it like for you with phones? So sometimes some productions are really strict, like you have to actually check in your phone. But for us, they let us keep our phones. They didn't really say much. But someone said that last week or whatever, someone took a picture and they posted it, and excuse me, they took a picture and they posted it, and they said they contacted that person, said, hey, take it down or we'll take legal action. But they didn't even make us sign any forms that says we won't be taking any pictures. I think for the most part they're worried about a phone going off, which would be very frustrating in the middle of a set. And you have hundreds of people standing around for a 10-second for like a 10-second I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? I gotta take this off. Dave says they put a sign up, an NDA, and they didn't take our phones. What is NDA? Non-disclosure something? But you know what the thing is that I thought that, here's from me, from a marketing standpoint, I would think that, just think about how much, if you have hundreds, there was at least hundreds, maybe over that, maybe a couple thousand, maybe it could be a stretch, at least hundreds of people standing around. And if those hundreds of people took little clips, or of course they didn't have to be video, but like whatever, selfies and pictures, you have hundreds of people marketing for your movie. Like, to me, it makes so much more sense to be like, hey, everyone snap a picture today. Like, that's like the amount, like, in the excitement and the exposure. And I don't know, obviously they have reasons and purposes. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. But in my opinion, if you have, like, for us, we're like, we have to like offer incentives and prizes, like, hey, well, you guys post. But if we had all of our audience posted a picture of our products on a regular basis, or even once in a while, we wouldn't have to market. But so think about these companies, and they're paying. It was paid, I should mention. They paid us. I didn't think they paid us at all. I don't even know, like minimum wage, I'm sure. But if you had all those people that were posting on social media, even if it was like a clip or an actor, or even if it was a video clip, I don't think, they're like, oh, it has to be private. They don't want anything leaked. But if you're leaking like little snippets or pictures throughout the production, I think that would be great marketing, in my opinion. Dave says they just don't want fans disrupting the locations. Yes, if they find out where they're filming it. Yes, that's a very good point. That's why they do that. From what I understand, that's why they do that in LA. That's a very good point. Thanks for that. So they called us into the church, and they file you in there. And while you're walking, it was only a block away, less than a block. So you're walking towards the church. We were a church scene, and it was a Mormon church. It was a church scene. So we were walking up there, and as we're walking there, they have this lineup of people, of all these people like fixing your hair and like putting extra makeup on, and like it was like something from a movie, like something that you'd see, like, oh, we got to move this little piece of hair over here, and then they like spray it to like stick it to their head. They had accessories, like no one could wear like their own glasses. You had, like, while the scene was filming, they had to take them off. Or they had different watches, they had different earrings. It was pretty cool. I liked that part. I really liked that every single part of that detail mattered. And because, I mean, it makes sense. If you're sitting there watching a show, you want to be in that. You want to be in the 80s, in a Mormon church. You want everything to represent that. And I only mentioned Mormon because, like, that's a very specific religion. The guy who said a few lines was talking about, like, how they named the children. And I don't know anything about that religion. All I'm saying is that it's very different than going to like a Buddhist monastery, like, or if someone was dressed differently or was out of, like, everything has to be perfect, especially if you're going to put this much time and effort into a production. So then they walk us into the church, and they give us like pamphlets, those little pamphlets you get at church, or used to get. And then you walk up the stairs, and then they tell you where to sit, and then they sit everyone in the church, and then they're moving people. Like, you go sit over there, you sit over there, and they put like, oh, it makes sense to put families together. It makes sense to put couples together. So then they're sitting there moving everyone, and you get into the church, and the whole front. I think that we called it the altar, growing up as a Catholic. The whole front church of the altar was production, like all it was like production staff. So they had one main director, but they had directors, and they had cameras, and they had lighting, and they had support staff, and they had like special effects staff, and then they had the extra. Of course, the extras would fill up. So for me to look around, and like, as a business owner, like, we know the costs of having a couple employees. We know the costs of, like, I got these 2 lights up here. I know how much those cost. Of course, they probably rented that stuff. But I'm just sitting there looking around, and I'm like, my gosh, the amount. But could you imagine? Like, for me, I was trying to picture like a Hollywood movie, or like Avatar, Sam Withington or Wilsonworth. I don't know. The guy, the main guy in Avatar was the main guy in this show, and he was sitting like two benches away from me. Not that I'm not starstruck at all. I didn't even know who he was half the day. I was like, that guy looks really familiar. And then someone told me after, I was like, I think I know that guy. And I really like the movie Avatar. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. And I was like, I know that. And then we had this like one of the girls with us. She was like super starstruck, and she was like all dreamy eyed. And then she told me, I was like, that's where I knew the guy from. But I was just thinking of the cost alone. Like, I could not imagine. And then like how much you're paying. That's why they say like one scene could cost $10,000, and easily, because you're paying all these people, and you're probably renting a bunch of this equipment, and you're renting the facility. So obviously, one 5-minute scene is going to cost a ton of money. But I thought, if you're filming something like Avatar, or you're filming something like, I don't know, what's a popular movie right now? I like something like, if you got The Rock in there, right? Or, I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. Let me know what your favorite movie is right now. What is the last movie you watched in the comments? We got a very quiet group out here today. What is the last big name Hollywood movie that you watched? Let me know in the comments. But I was thinking, like, could you imagine how much that would cost if this was a pilot? So I don't know exactly how it works. They would probably go to investors, and they'd get people to invest in this film, and they'd pitch the idea and say, these are the actors that we have, and Cinderella. Right? These are the actors that we have, and we think it could be projected to make this much amount of money. So then you have to budget, and you have to work your way down and figure out how much everything's going to cost. And then I think you got to cross your fingers and hope that people are going to watch it, or networks are going to pick it up, like Netflix. I think this one was Hulu. I think this was filmed on Hulu. Ooh, Karate Kid. Awesome. Top Gun. Is that the new one? They got the new Top Gun came out, didn't it? I got to watch that one. And is there a new Karate Kid, or that's an old one? I'm a big Karate Kid fan. In the beach in the summers, every summer they play the Karate Kid. Part 1. I like the Karate Kid. I grew up in the 80s, obviously. Cruella. Oh, Cruella. Interesting. We thought about that one, but then said no. I didn't think it would be that good. Was it good? But anyways, I was just thinking, like, how much that would cost just to do that scene. And so we sat there, and it was, so they actually had, so it was that Sam guy, I forget his last name. I think he might be Australian. And then they had another guy who was quite famous, another guy that's in Yellowstone. And then they had Macaulay Culkin's brother. He was there. And he looks just like his brother. And I know that'd be difficult to always be like, oh, I don't even know his name, but that's Macaulay Culkin's brother. He's probably not so happy about being in that limelight. Brenda says, Cruella was awesome. I was surprised. Very cool. And Louise says, I've seen a few, but maybe, Maleficent. Not sure if I spelled that right. I think you did a pretty good job. We actually watched both. I think there's 2 of them, isn't there? They were actually really well done. I was surprised. But that's of course, that's quite different. That's done mostly with, what do you call it? And I don't know what the word is. It's made with, it's like, I suppose Avatar would be made with a lot of that animation. A lot of that animation too. I'd imagine lots of movies are going that route. I think Stallone's coming out with another movie. I'm a Stallone fan. I don't love all his movies, but I think what he's doing. Like, he doesn't care about how old he is. He doesn't care how long he's been in it. He's not like, he doesn't care how much money he has. He's just still making movies. He's still having fun. Yeah, there's two, Louise said. Yeah, we watched them maybe last year. And okay, so then from there, we were in the back scene. Or sorry, okay, so we're sitting in the seats, and then the scene was, and the guy messed up a couple times. Of course, they're human. He messed up a couple times. But the thing, what was interesting is that they ran that same scene, and it was probably less than a minute. It was probably a 30-second scene. They did that same scene. They must have done it a dozen times. And then after they did it a dozen times, they flipped it over. Like, they moved a bunch of people to the other side, moved the filming crew to this side. We stayed in our same seats because we were more in the middle. But then they probably ran it another half a dozen times from a different angle. And it was the same words. It was the same everything. Everyone did the exact same thing. And it was just like, it's so crazy to think. That's why a movie, I don't know how long a movie takes. I'm not a movie expert, obviously, by any means, but I think a movie takes Dave, do you know? Does anyone know? I think a movie takes 4 to 6 months to film. And if oh my gosh, it's hard to even fathom. If a 30-second scene takes, we must have been there for an hour, at least an hour. Like, a 30-second scene takes an hour with that much time and effort and energy and cost. How much would it take to, and then of course they have to film over. They probably film, I don't know what they film. They film probably 5 to 8 hours of film, and then they chop it down and do all the edits until it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it was just crazy to think, like, so now when I watched the show last night when we got back, and I was sitting there watching the show, and I was like, I wonder how long that scene took. Then I'm like, I wonder how many times it took them to film that one scene. So what's interesting to me is the memorization. And they were short, like they're short clips, and of course you can repeat. It's easy to repeat something for 30 seconds, but you see these like really good actors, and they recite this. They could talk for 20 minutes, or they talk, probably not 20 minutes. They talk for 5 minutes, probably straight. And then you're wondering, like, I wonder, like, oh my gosh, how can you like memorize all of that? And I'm sure some of it they can make up their own words, or I don't know how it works, but just very interesting for me to see the back end of it and to be like, oh, like, how can you memorize that much? How can you sit there all day? And you know what I was thinking, like, for the actors too, I got to tell you that I'm sure there's different scenes where it's fun, like maybe action scenes are fun, or driving scenes, or running, but of course this looked like a drama. It was in a church. It was just dialogue. It was only talking. It wasn't much moving, and it wasn't fun. Like, it wasn't fun. Like, it couldn't have been fun for anyone. They literally sat there for probably 5 minutes in between each take. They would just sit there and like kind of talk to their neighbor or talk to the other casting crew or whatever. Like the actors, they just sat there. But it was the behind the scenes, the guys that were doing all the work. They were moving the lights, and they were moving the cameras. And one guy had this big thing. He was holding a giant camera. It was like this big thing that hung over. It was like a big backpack, and it had this crane that hung over, and the camera hung down from it. So he didn't have to carry this. It must have been a 50-pound camera. So he didn't have to carry this camera around everywhere. And then, but he had the backpack on, and there's another guy bringing him the camera to hook it up, screw it on, and it was a lot to it. My gosh. But the thing for me is, like, I think from the outside, people are like, oh, like I said, it could be different for different scenes, of course. And I think you get into that maybe for the money, or for the passion, or to show your acting skills, whatever it is. But it was incredibly boring, is what I'm saying. I couldn't imagine doing that all the time. And I'm sure it changes and alters, but I got to tell you, like, those actors, they sat there for an hour too, for like a 30-second scene. I don't even think it was 30 seconds. It was like, well, maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds, but they sat there for hours. And so then they do their scene, and then they go and sit down, and then they're talking to the neighbor. And oh, okay. Then they get up and they do their scene. And I was just like, doing that every single day? No thanks. Brenda says they were filming driving scenes east of Didsbury this week on 582. Awesome. That's very. I think it's really cool that they come out here. Like, you think like, why would they? Why are they coming out to these small towns to film? But I think it's so good to. It's good for like the people to have something exciting to talk about, to see them, to see the cars, to see there could be new jobs in the area. I think there's a lot of benefits. Well, for sure there's a lot of benefits, but um, I think it's really cool to have that around here. Um, I'm almost done. I'll just tell you a couple more things. So from that scene, they took us back out to the tents, and then it was lunchtime. They gave us a sandwich. It was actually a really nice sandwich. They asked it was a salmon sandwich. It was nice. It was actually really good. But then you're sitting in the tent for probably another hour. And I should mention that we were fortunate to get called out to go back, but there were some people that, how can I say? No, let me. So they brought us back out to the tents, and you sat there for maybe an hour. Then they called us. No, that was quick. They gave us our sandwiches. We just finished our sandwiches, and then they're like, whoever was just in that seat. No, sorry. I'm just thinking about. This is the first time I'm remembering all this. There was one of the casting crew came out and like handpicked people. He's like, you guys, and we got called to go back to the church again, which was nice. And again, I think like you want to think like, oh, maybe they saw something in me, but I think that's mostly an ego. Like I think it was just convenient, or maybe you fit that scene. I don't want to feel like they're like, oh, you look really good, or you were a good extra. We were just sitting there. Anyways, he comes out and he grabs a handful of people, maybe 30, 40 people. And there's a ton of people sitting in these tents. There's got to be over 100 people. And then so you go back, we go back to the church, and then we sit there, and then he tells you what you're doing. So ours was, of course, we're an extra. We're in the behind the scenes, and you're actually and he's like, just pretend to talk. So there's 5 of us standing in a circle, and then they have their different keywords like roll. I think it's rolling, background. I should know because they said it 100 times yesterday, but I think it was rolling, background. So that's when the background, that's when we start moving and talking, and then it's action. So, and they had different cameras from different angles. So when the cameras were ready and set, they were like focusing and like making sure. And there's 2 guys on one camera, and so they had to say a word when they were ready. Like maybe it was like ready, like what all the different cameras that were on this one scene. And then from there, it was like, so we were actually, the only thing that we really did, we stood in a circle, and we pretended to talk, and it was so difficult because you can't say anything, like you can't speak words. So you're miming and talking and like hand gestures, and you're moving your head, and then you're looking at this person over here, and then you're looking at that person. we had a blast. We really did. We were laughing so hard. It was really funny. But that's it. Like that's what we did. We did that for probably an hour. So it was maybe 30 seconds each time. It felt like a really long time just to sit there and pretend to talk. We sat there for a really long time. That was probably an hour. And then we went back to the tent, and then we had lunch. So they walked us down a couple blocks and if there were some older people there, I guess they wanted older people to be in church scenes. And they were, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But these older people, some of them had canes. Some of them were quite old. They had canes, and some of them walking was a bit difficult. And we walked probably 2 blocks to they had to have a big enough area. There wasn't enough area in the park, but they had a big enough area to have these food trucks and enough room for a lineup to get there. So there was a lot to it. So, but anyways, I felt bad for the people that had to walk that far to get their food. Food was fine, like it wasn't great, like it wasn't gourmet or anything, but like I said, I was expecting to be uncomfortable, and I was just happy to be fed. So we ate the food, and then they said, hey, whoever was in the last scene, you got to come back in the church for another scene. And we're like, kind of like, yeah, let's go back, because otherwise you're sitting there. And then, but there was people sitting there. So some people got there we were probably there at, what time did we leave? We must have been there at 8. So some people got to do one scene at about 9:30. Maybe that took an hour. So from 10:30 till 3, they were sitting there. They're doing nothing. They're on their phones. They're reading a book. So they're basically sitting there all day, which would have been very difficult. Anyway, so they called us back, and we did a different. We did the miming scene again, but we had to do it from the other side of the church. So it was the exact same scene. All they were doing is doing a different angle, just like the first time. So it was crazy to me to think like that's an all day. It's an all day, and that scene. My God, that scene was like I said. No, sorry, it wasn't the initial scene from the morning. It was a different scene. But I would guess that they did 2 or 3 scenes with us, and that was an all day thing for us. My gosh, when did we leave? I think we left at 6. It was a 12-hour day. It was just about, I think it was 11 and a half hour day. And from what I've seen, they only did 2 or 3 scenes with us, and then while we were sitting there, they probably did 2 or 3 other scenes. So you get 5 minutes out all day. Were they getting paid for the day? Yeah, everyone got paid. I'm pretty sure it's minimum wage. I didn't expect to get paid. Like I said, I was just a fun experience. But it's not. Of course, it's nice to be compensated for your time. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm saying is I'm so like impressed with, not impressed, but like surprised about the cost, like how much those would cost from being there. Like all these people, there's hundreds of people sitting there all day. And we get, like us as extras, we're getting paid minimum wage, right? Getting paid not much. But then you have your actors, like who knows how much those guys are getting paid. And they're sitting there all day. And then, of course, you have the film crew. And I don't, like, there's a director, of course. There's a director and there's an assistant director. And those guys are getting paid more. So that's why I was saying the money that's going out for that production. And then the rent, like renting a facility. I think they're at that church. And I don't know, maybe it's donations, maybe it's different because it's a church. I don't know. But that's why they didn't mind sitting there. Well, what the thing was, it's nice to get paid, but it's still boring. Like, that's why I said, I don't know if I would go back and do it again, to be honest with you. Like, there was a few people that made it a bit uncomfortable. Like, there were some people there, and I think in any situation you'll have those people, but there was people there that they were overdoing their job. They were a bit like they had a nice little truck there. You had to go wait in line, but you could go with this truck, and we had a tea in the morning, and we had a granola bar, or I actually had a nice chia. I think it was coconut cream and chia seeds and raspberries. I had that as a little snack with tea. But then there was some lady there that she was some lady there that was she was overdoing her job. I don't know a better way to put it, but she was like, so we walked to that, it was a truck that opened up. I don't know. It was like a trailer that opened up. Big door came down, and then there's a screen, and you ordered. And she's like, you guys can't come in line. There's too many people in line. And we're like, okay. So we weren't like really offended, like, okay, we'll just come back. But we leave and we come back and the lineup's even longer and there's other people standing in line and she's still standing there. So like, it just seemed a bit odd. And then she was doing some other things, but like, like I said, like you're crammed in the church, you're crammed in line, but then we were sitting next to each other eating lunch. We're sitting next to eating lunch and they're like, are you guys a cohort? Are you guys allowed to sit next to each other? Are you guys supposed to? And we're like, what are you talking about? You're crammed in line when you're going to the church. You're crammed in the church. But then they don't want you sitting next to each other in the tent. And I know they have their protocol and stuff, but I could count 3 other people that weren't just doing that, but they were doing a bit too much, in my opinion. So it seemed like, so that made the day not as enjoyable. But I mean, you're going to have those type of people everywhere. And of course, they're doing their job. Like whatever they need to do, I'm okay with. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think of if I would do that again. And obviously I wouldn't do it for the money. I would make more money working on my job and not being away from and I really like my work. I really love what I do every day. And I'm very grateful for it. And maybe that showed me that more than anything is that, and because some people were doing that as a job, like that was their full-time job as an extra. And I talk to everyone and I ask questions. That's like I told you before, when we started the show, like that's who I am. I like to ask questions. So some of these like makeup people, they only have their job while there's filming going on. So that filming could be 2 or 3 months, and then they could be off for 2 or 3 months applying or waiting for another film to come in, or they're doing other odd jobs just trying to be able to pay their rent and put food on their table. And I talked to some extras, and that's what they do. Some of them have an agent, and of course their agent gets. I think they said their agent gets 15 or 20%, and that's what they do. They sit there and wait for an email. They wait for a phone call and hope that they can get another gig or another job. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great that people are able to do that kind of stuff and are trying to maybe pursue a dream. But it was, I think, like, it was really hard for me to understand why they were there. And I think the only thing that I could gather or put together is that other jobs could be hard to find right now, and at least they're working. But for someone like to do that all the time, I certainly wouldn't do it. I don't even know if I would do it ever again, let alone consistently. But some people don't have a choice. And I suppose all I'm saying here is that I'm very fortunate to be able to wake up and have a job that I really enjoy and I want to do. Like, I want to do my job every day. I can't wait to wake up and work in most cases. So that's all I'm saying. But we got some comments here. Vivian says, so that now you are going to be famous, will you still be talking to regular folks anyway? We're far from famous, Vivian. Far from famous. There's more people that see our social media posts in a day than. But like I said, it was a fun experience. There was something else I wanted to mention, but I forget what it was. Hannah says it was amazing how much pre-thinking, planning, and organizing all those details before anything can begin to happen, and for all a few minutes of a show. Wow. Thank you for sharing this insight. Makes us appreciate what we watch on TV. Yeah, 100%. And for me, it's like now, I mean, I don't want it to ruin because all I was thinking about last night when I was watching that show was the scenes, behind the scenes, and the extras. We were watching the extras, and we're like, oh, I wonder how much they're getting paid. Or I wonder how they got to fit in that dress. Or I wonder how long they had to wait to, So it kind of takes the Hollywood out of it, being involved in it. But I'm sure that will fade. If you're doing it all the time, I think it would be difficult. But I think that will fade in time. And like I said, it was fun. Vivian says organized chaos. Yeah, for sure. There's so much planning. Yeah, so much planning. And I have so much respect for those people that are able to do that on a regular basis. My gosh. And the actors alone, like being able to act. It's not just being able to act. Like, I understood like playing sports from, doesn't matter if it's college, university to professional. Like, there's always an amount of weight on you. And like, you look at the professional athletes that can still perform with the world on their shoulders. You look at these actors and that are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and they still perform, and then they go and do one thing, and then of course they're in the media all the time, like, and you do one thing, and then of course it's all over the news. Like, to be able to perform consistently, you have to think about how much time and effort they put into their craft, and how much time and effort they put into getting better and hiring experts to teach them, and they do speech stuff. Actually, one of the guys was doing some like, they do that in radio a little bit as well. I was doing some research, and not that I was trained in radio, but he was doing some like tongue exercises. But like that's taken years, and I think it's funny because I'm sure there are people like, as an extra, that's something I wanted to mention, is that there were definitely people that were thought a bit more of themselves, and they were just regular extras like we were, but they were talking about the schools they went into for acting. They talked about some of the famous people they knew or worked with, and I think there was a lot of people there that were trying to find a way to get on screen and be an actor or an actress, and which is fine. It was just very interesting to be a part of so many people that wanted to be on. It was just an odd energy. Like, so many people wanted to be on screen. They wanted to be in front of the limelight. And I just think, like, you got to take everything. You have to take everything with that. And you have to take the travel and the uncomfortableness. You have to take the buses and that's what we did when we traveled. I slept on the floor of buses sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, you played sports? as a profession, and maybe getting calls or going to cold. Like one lady told us it was really cold one of the times, and it was supposed to be in the summer, but it was freezing out. And of course, in Alberta, it could be a beautiful day. It could look like a beautiful day, but be freezing. She said she was in a shorts or a dress, short dress, and she had cut off sleeves. And she said it was freezing. So what they did is put all those little heat things on her back and like under her clothes. She said she was so cold, and she was an extra, but that's what she was doing as a job. And I just think that just having that extra respect for those people, and I think it's so difficult. Like we don't have that for we don't have any, in most cases we don't have sympathy for professional athletes. We don't have sympathy for actors, like, oh, they should have never done that, like, or like when they're in their own like relationships, or people are like, don't film me with the don't follow me with the camera. Well, like, think about that, camera's in their face all day long, and then they're coming out of their house and someone's got a camera on them, and and then they lose it. They're like, get that camera off me. And then everyone thinks they're a mean or rude or inconsiderate individual, you know? So I think if it probably goes in all walks of life, if you could be a bit more considerate of people and what they're going through. And it doesn't matter like how much money they make or how much money they have in the bank. Like, we're all human beings. We're all just trying to figure out how to make this life work. But that was my experience. So I'm gonna go. That's all I have for you guys. It was a great experience. I feel very grateful and fortunate I had that opportunity. I don't know if everyone asked me if I do it again. I don't know if I do it again. Not anytime soon. Like, if it was filming here, like if they did something here in Olds or something closer, I would consider it again. Probably not with all that protocol. Like, it's very uncomfortable. You know, like some people got to wear. I don't want to get into it, like I said, too much. But some people have to wear masks all day long, and I don't. I work from home and I walk outside and I'm fine. And that was one of the things they kept bugging you about. Like, that was very uncomfortable. And I'm not used to it. I don't know if you get more used to it or if it becomes easier, but that's one reason that why I was very uncomfortable much of the day. In the driving, probably when the driving because of the protocol. Like, I think we drove Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think we made a drove 4 days a week, and then that's taken me away from something I would want to do. Like, I want to work. I want to run my business. So that's taking me away from being able to grow and expand my business, which is our business, which is a goal of mine. Showing up for a movie scene once in a while isn't really a goal of mine, and I'm very goal oriented. It was fun, but to be put in difficult situations, and then I don't like to be told what to do. Like, that's one of the reasons why I left sports. To be 100% honest with you guys, didn't want like old grumpy men to tell me what time to go to bed and what time I'm going to eat. Was one of my biggest issues. And then of course I run my own business. No one tells me what I can do and what I can't. So that was difficult. Like, they're telling you where to sit, where to go, which wasn't a problem. I just thinking like long term. If someone's always telling you where to go and what to do, where to sit, what to wear, it's probably not for me. But don't get me wrong. There could be a lot of people that really would really enjoy it or love it or want to do it a couple times or want to be a part of it. That being said, like, I might do another one in the future, because now that I'm on the list, they're going to call us back and they're going to send emails and say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And if it's in the next couple days or probably next couple weeks, I would say no. But if there's one close and I'm just reading some comments. If it's close, then maybe I'd give it a shot, but it's not something I'd be interested in long. And you know what the thing is, like, I think that everyone feels like there's an opportunity. My phone's gonna die here. And I think that everyone feels like there's an opportunity for their big break. And I feel like that is such a dangerous mindset. I really do. Like, of course you're sitting there with famous people and people that are on screen, and then you have directors, and then you have people that they make the decisions. I don't think it's the director. They may have some small role in that, but they're more worried about the picture and the scene, and they don't really have much to say about there's someone in particular that is looking after the extras and hiring the extras. I think it's called a casting director. And that casting direction, like, they're not going to be like, hey, that person looks great, let's put them on screen and make them a star. Like, it doesn't happen like that. And it's the same thing with the lottery. Like, how much money could you invest, and make compound interest instead of spending money on the lottery in hopes of your big break? And then there's some crazy statistic about how many people are actually go in debt after they've won the lottery because they don't know how to manage their money. Family and friends are asking for their money. They're giving their money away. So, and then that's a big break, right? And I think it's a dangerous, like, I believe in hard work. I really do. Like, we wake up every day and we grind it out until we're exhausted at the end of the day. And sometimes we don't get back to people. Sometimes we don't answer. Sometimes we forget about stuff. That's life. But every day we wake up and we commit to getting better and working hard at what we do. And that's the only way I know how to live life, honestly. Like, when I was in school, I wasn't very smart, to be 100% honest with you. I didn't do well in school. I didn't love school. I had to work hard just to get by. In sports, I was the first one there. I was the last one to leave. I had to work hard to get by. And I feel like it's the same thing in the acting world. Like, if you want to be a good actor, you have to go to school for it. You have to get the best trainers. You have to work hard at it every single day. And I feel like some people just kind of show up in life in general, and they just feel like they're going to get a big break one day. And I'm sure there was 100 people out of hundreds that thought the same thing. Like, oh, I'm going to get my big break if I keep showing up to these things. But I don't think life works that way. At least that's not how I've achieved anything I've ever achieved in life. I'm going to read these comments and I'll let you go. Did I read this one? Anna says, oh my God, I've always had loads of respect for people who have to work extended length of time outdoors, no matter the weather, elements, and away from the bathroom. No kidding. We're very fortunate there was a bathroom there, but 100% Anna. I couldn't agree with you more. And then my mom says, happy you guys had the opportunity to experience. It was a great experience. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very fortunate to have that experience. Ben, we're just wrapping up here, but thanks for jumping in here, Ben. Ben says, grand raising. Almost missed it. It was good that you had the opportunity to see how you feel about it. Yes, it is. I think that's a very good point, Suzanne, is that you don't know, like I got to jump. I know that it looks like there's someone still here on Telegram. I got to run because my phone has 2%. So I should say goodbye instead of just letting this phone die. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you later. And the live stream. And so what was I saying here? So you never know. That's the thing about this stuff I don't understand is a lot of times people like, I don't like that food. I don't want to do that. I can't do that exercise. It's that mindset. And I'm like, well, when's the last time you had that food? You had an avocado 20 years ago, right? How do you know if you don't like it now? I can't do that exercise. Well, have you tried that exercise? No, but I tried to do this a couple years ago and it made myself worse. So it's not that exercise you can't do. It's the mindset in the past that's holding you back from doing something now. So if you don't try something, you'll never know. And that's why it's always surprising to me, like how little people like maybe like to travel or like to try new things or like to try new activities. It's just like, it's that mindset of I can't, don't know how, it's outside your comfort zone. But to me, it's like, how will you know if you never try? And you got to try and experience new things. And that's what we said. We're going to give this a shot. Let's try it out and see how it goes. If we like it, we'll do another one. If we don't, then at least we gave it a shot. At least we tried it. And I think that's the most important thing that I got out of it. Because, maybe you think, you're always thinking in the back of your head, like, oh, maybe I want to be an actor. And I can say pretty confidently, and it's only one experience. I should probably try a few more before. But it's not something I want to pursue. And like I said, I think you have to pursue it. Like you have to go and try hard before you can be like, okay, that failed. I'm not very good at it. You can't just show up a few times and be like, hey. But for me, like I say pretty confidently that I don't plan on being an extra long term in my life. And then even if I had the opportunity to be an actor, I think it would be a big stretch to be like, yeah, that's what I want to do with the rest of my life. Ben says, nice big job. Thanks, Ben. That was a requirement for the extra. Have to go. Have a great day, everyone. Suzanne. I have to go too, Suzanne. Thank you guys so much for joining me live. If you're watching the replay, Thanks for catching the replay live. Or sorry, thanks for catching the replay, not live. Have a wonderful day. We have a new product launch I should have mentioned earlier before everyone has to go. New product launch coming up next week on Monday. We're going live Monday night to make that happen. I think it's Monday night, but stay tuned. We're going to keep putting up posts in our different groups. So you're going to want to see that one. We got a great new product, and then we have a bundle, a really nice package coming out too. We are so excited to share that with everyone. So if you're not on our newsletters, you should be on them because we're going to be telling you more details about that. And then also, we're going to have prizes and giveaways as well. So why not join us for a few minutes to see if you can win something, learn about our new product, and join us for some fun. Have a great day, everyone.